Well, I did tell a lot of people and no one listened. I did tell you so. And Poshmark in the UK is now closed. I'm going to tell you my perspective on how I thought Poshmark was, whether I used it, whether I thought it was any good, and why I think Poshmark in the UK has failed. But before we get into this video, please hit that subscribe button if you're new. Obviously, comment down. I know this is going to be a controversial. All the OG Poshmark people will not like this video because I'm going to basically tell the honest truth. But whatever comment you do say, just remember this is my own personal opinion. It's nothing against the company or the people who was in it and absolutely busted their nuts off basically to try and make it work. This is my own personal opinion. And yeah, I'm going to go through what I think went wrong with Poshmark in the UK. So if you don't know who I am a UK eBay reseller. Yes, an eBay UK reseller. I do sell on Vinted as well, but they are my main two platforms. Poshmark was going to be coming over to the UK. It's massive apparently in the US, and they was going to try and branch out into Europe, and UK was one of the places that they wanted to try and break. Unfortunately, it hasn't happened. It has now been officially closed down. I think it has been now closed down in November. And I've known this for about a couple of weeks. I saw it on the Instagram post and I didn't want to be laughing because I did put a post out on Instagram and I did get a lot of hate. And also a couple of other people who also said, I told you so, and didn't agree with Poshmark also got hate. So I do feel it is very unfair to actually go for people just because they have opinion, whether you don't like it or not. You should be private messaging people saying that you're this, you're that, what do you know, how dare you say that. Everybody has got an opinion. When you start getting private messages, I mean, I literally had about 10, 15 messages off people saying basically quite abusive messages to me. I was going to think about doing this video probably about a couple of weeks ago when I was quite raw and they were annoying me, and I was going to tag them and put them up on the screen, but I'm not going to do that now. I just feel like it needs to be addressed why I feel the Poshmark was basically a failure and why people just was so obsessed with it. And my point why I didn't really bother with Poshmark, I thought Poshmark wasn't a good platform at all. I think it was very amateurish. Even though it's a big success in America, doesn't mean everything in one area is going to work out in another. We all know, even if you're famous rock stars, singing artists trying to break America, it fails. Like Oasis couldn't break America, and look how big they were. You know, just because something's good in one country doesn't mean it's going to be good in another country. So I'm going to break down everything what I thought about it, and yeah, and tell you my honest, raw opinion on the actual company itself. If you don't know who I am, I'm actually an eBay reseller. I've been only doing it this year, started in January, and for the first couple of months, I didn't know much about anything, didn't know where to sell. Obviously, I knew eBay. I heard about Vinted, and I knew to sell stuff on Vinted, and I was open to other sites. You know, I tried Depop, but I didn't like it because it just, no one was selling anything on there. It's just a bit boring. And there's some other places, but I just really thought, well, eBay and Vinted are the only places where I was gonna sell my stuff on. So in mid-February, I decided to join Poshmark because I was following a lot of Instagrammers, a lot of people who was in the same, you know, business as me, a bit more experience, you know, people I thought, you know, they know a lot more, I look up to, and I thought they are basically pushing this to the max. So I thought, not only shall I follow them and see if I can help them out in some way, like, you know, and promote it as well myself. I did it for the first week and then that was it. I didn't even bother with it after the first week. I sold 2 things in the first week and it put me off straight away. It was a lot of plugging. It felt like it wasn't a selling site. It felt like a reselling site. It was as full of people who are resellers flogging off their gear, and there was no public market. You know, I didn't know why people was like following me all the time. It literally, every day. I was getting like 20, 30 followers, and I basically had more followers than my YouTube channel, my Instagram channel put together. And I was thinking, this is annoying. Why are they just following me? And I found out if you wanted to do lives, you have to have so many followers, you have to do so much to get an ambassador role, where then you can do lives and sell your actual clothes, products on lives, basically like I'm doing now, and then selling them, flogging them off. And I thought, yeah, that sounds a good idea. But me being a reseller and me wanting to actually have a life, I thought, I'm not doing that. I'm not wasting my time, my life, flogging myself to a site it was brand new, when one, it was charging 20% for everything. Two, I was just thinking everybody who is in the clothing industry who do reselling are basically promoting this thing, and I couldn't see any general public people actually being on this site. No one who I knew, no one who in the public, domain knew about Poshmark. Everything was eBay and everything was Vinted. Vinted was getting bigger and bigger. The advertising, I think, Big Brother now. Obviously, eBay was advertising Love Island. Very popular shows in the UK, and Poshmark was still trying to basically overcome these two giants, which I understand, trying to get in the market in the UK, but I don't think they actually researched it, because one, Vinted has no fees, eBay has fees less unless you want to boost it, and also it's a global market and you can sell whatever you want. And Poshmark wasn't basically not giving you anything. They was taking a lot more money out of you, and it was basically full of resellers, and that put me off. There was no general public, and I was thinking, I'll give it a chance, because obviously it takes a while to get out there. And literally it must have been 6 months, and all I had on sales was them 2 sales, and I was thinking, I can't even be bothered to take off the things I've sold. Everything I put on, I was selling on eBay or I was selling on Vinted, and I was thinking, this site is a joke. And now all I saw was the same people doing lives. I don't think anybody actually did sell anything in the wardrobe part, because why would all these people be doing lives all the time? And I watched a few of these lives, and yes, some of them was good, but I was thinking, you're losing so much profit on the clothes you're actually selling. I was seeing people selling like just basic Ralph Lauren t-shirts, which don't fetch much, but you could say about 20 quid on eBay. They were selling for what, 5-6 quid, and you have to pay for these. Obviously you're going to get your 20% commission taken off you, so you're basically not doing it for any money. And also you got to set up this live, do it for an hour, and I was thinking, why are you doing this? What is the point? Are you that desperate to sell clothes for hardly nothing? Being a reseller or in any business, you do not basically sell stuff for nothing. What is the point? You're making no money. And this was one thing that I sort of like started posting on Instagram, and I used to do like sales of the week, and it'd be like eBay 20 something, Vinted 10, and I'll put a Poshmark and I'll go big 0. And people didn't like it. They were starting to get a bit bitter and nasty about it, because I didn't like Poshmark. And it's sort of like the community, and some of the people, if they do watch this video, will probably agree with me. It was like a community divide. It's like, why are you just suddenly ditched everybody on who doesn't like Poshmark, or you've ditched your other places where you sell stuff? You never saw them promote eBay, like, or Vinted or anything like that. And it was just Poshmark, 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 Poshmark. Watch my live, watch my live, watch my live, watch my live. And I was thinking, oh God, please give it a rest. But even so, everybody to their own. I always say, as a reseller, don't put all your eggs into one basket, because if you devote yourself to one site or to one niche market, I always say, that's why I sell everything. If something goes wrong in that area, you're stuck. You're broke. You don't know what to do. You've got to like reinvent yourself. You've got to like basically sort something out quick, because if you're doing it full time like myself, you haven't got anywhere else to sell, or you'll have to like research on other areas which you probably just avoid, you know. And I always say, if you're going to be a reseller for everything. Don't just niche down onto one area. Some people like that area, just niching down, and I understand, because it's easier for them, or that's their expertise, or they're not interested in other things. But potentially profit wise, you're going to make a lot more money if you're broader and you basically pick up anything, you know. And I always say, more the better, you know. Niching down to one area, you're limited to what you can sell. But each their own. I'm never going to like discriminate people who just niche onto one area, because, you know, if they're comfortable in that area, then fair enough. But with Poshmark, I felt like it was a clothing site. There wasn't no room for anything else. There was, yes, they did do a bit of a, like, say, toys and that, but it felt like if you didn't like Poshmark, or you didn't agree with Poshmark, you was outcast. And I'm not the only one that felt like it. Like I said, there's been a lot of abuse towards me and a couple of other people on Instagram, because we basically did say, I told you so, it wouldn't work. And we were both right. Well, and the other person were right. We all said it wouldn't work, and we got backlash for it. But yeah, it's not right, is it? When you get hate because of certain things you basically say, and, you know, in the end of the day, we were right. And I'm ashamed that it's came to like abuse of people just because of a company that basically ditched you. Not what I did to them, but they did to you. They closed down. No care. You know, don't care. Get your money out. Get your things off. We're closing in November. Goodbye. That is it. That is a bad company. Straight away. If anybody does that in a company, they're not even worth trying. And I do feel sorry for the people who pushed it, you know, posted loads of stuff saying, come to Poshmark, do this, do that, because they did try hard. But why? Like I said, don't put all your eggs into one basket, because you're just going to get hurt from it, you know, especially if it doesn't work. So I always say branch out, you know, don't stick to one area. You know, if eBay went now, I still got Vinted, you know. If Vinted went now, I've still got eBay, you know. So, and I've also got private sales from Facebook. So, yeah, it's a shame it went, because I know a lot of people absolutely loved it. To live selling, people keep on saying, I've seen a few of these YouTube videos about Poshmark saying live selling is the future. No, it's not. Live selling is not the future. Live selling has been around for years. What do you think auctioneers do? They live sell on internet, but they also do it in the public as well at their auction houses. Live selling is only good for stuff that is worth something, like antiques, collectibles. Clothing is not a collectible thing unless you've got vintage clothing or very, very expensive clothing. And I'm sorry to say, Poshmark, you never sold anything expensive on there. I've seen people like the Luxury Pickers selling stuff for cheap, and it's designer make. And I'm thinking, why would you even bother? You know, it's just, I don't see the point in live selling, because one, there was all resellers. It's great if you're a reseller, because you could pick up a lot of cheap items and then sell them on eBay. You're not going to make no money. I saw people boasting, oh, I made £200, £300 tonight on a live. But think about it. You've gone out picking. So what's that? 3 or 4 hours, or maybe 2 or 3 days picking over a week. You also have got to set up and do a studio. So if you're not very confident, it's basically discriminating you if you're shy, so you can't sell in the, you know, like what I'm doing now in on camera, because some people do not like to do that. So it's pointless for people like that. Also, you're spending at least an hour hoping people are going to come and watch you when you're going to compete with other sellers that are doing lives. And then you've got to basically beg to sell your clothing, where you shouldn't be doing that. You shouldn't be begging to sell your clothing, which is worth about 20 quid. What's the point? You know, it's just a waste of time. So you think about all that, and plus packaging, you know, posting it, and then they take off the 20% off that. You think about all that time you're wasting. You're probably, after your 200 quid and all, take off all your expenses and your traveling and your time, you're probably on minimum wage for that 200 quid. So it's nothing really to boast about. I'm not saying everybody made 200 quid. Some people probably made more. I didn't watch every single live, but the ones I did watch, I was thinking, wow, this is bad. I almost was tempted to bid on some of the items and buy them because they was going for so cheap. I know I could have just stuck them on eBay and probably sold them for like 25, 35 quid. It was like really bad, some of the ones I was watching, and I was thinking, why are you doing this? You're supposed to be a reseller. You're supposed to be making money, you know. And so I know some people don't buy these clothes cheap, you know. If you're buying them for pennies, like I've seen people like Cheppard doing rag houses where they buy bulks for like hardly nothing, fair enough. But also, again, I've seen people, you know, not wanting one item, not wanting one, and then you see him pick out something decent, and then that's when the resellers all want to buy it, and he's only selling it for like 7 quid, but that's like probably a 40 quid coat. And I'm thinking, why don't you just sell it on eBay? You're going to make more money. Yes, it's not going to sell quick, but it's going to sell for more, and it's worth it. You know, if it's a good item, sell it on eBay. Even Vinted, and people hate Vinted. A lot of resellers hate Vinted, and I'm thinking, why? I've just sold like 3 Aston Villa tops this week. I bought them on the same day, and I've sold 3 Aston Villa tops on Vinted for 35 quid each without even trying. And I was thinking, you know what? It's so much easier and better than flogging your life on Poshmark. But yeah, I thought Poshmark was just not very good at all. Bad business plan, extortionate pricing, you know, on fees, basically trying to do all these parties, trying to make it all look glitz and glamour. No, thank you very much. They are not glitz and glamour. It's just trying to make you get into their little group, sell their stuff, and then rip you off on the obviously the commission. And you just, you know, it's just a resellers community basically selling stuff to other resellers. No one ever knew about Poshmark. I have never ever heard about Poshmark. And I'm going to do a test now on anybody who's watching this still. I want you to comment down below and name 3 selling places now and put them in the comments straight out your head. And I bet it's eBay first, Vinted second, and I probably would say Facebook Market third. All the rest are really not worth it. You don't hear about them. You don't know about them. If you typed in where to sell my stuff on Google, it'll probably come up with them over everywhere else, you know, and the other ones will be right down the bottom. So yeah, I do feel sorry for the people, like I said, who pushed it, but you wasted your time. You got treated like rubbish, really. I do, you know, it's bad when you see people like promoting it, really bad, and hoping it's a success. I just hope you didn't put all your eggs into that one basket, because I do feel like a lot of people did, and that's why they're very bitter about people who didn't like it. But yeah, I always say, stick with the ones that are well known. Stick with the ones that treat you right. Don't over obsess on one area. Obviously, if things seem too good, they're probably not, and that is definitely what Poshmark was. Don't know what it's like in the US, don't really care, because I'm not from the US. It might be absolutely brilliant in the US, but you know what? It's not for me. It was never for me. and I thought I wasn't going to do this video. I was going to do it, like I said, I was going to do it like when I found out, and you know, just to wind people up. But I didn't want to wind people up on this video. I wanted to actually feel you know, a bit of remorse for them, because they did try to promote it, but it felt like they just used you, abused you, and then spat you out. And now you've got nothing to show for that. Yes, you probably made a little bit of money out of it, but you probably devote so much time and energy into that, when you could have done that with your other apps, you know, like your Vinted, your eBay. And don't worry, people, because I have heard that actually Vinted are thinking about doing a business account, even though most resellers do sell on Vinted. They're planning on doing a Vinted business account for people who want to sell stuff on there, so they can't get done by it. I think it's being tested out in France at the moment, so hopefully it could work, but yeah, we don't know about that. Anyway, tell me what your thoughts on Poshmark. Please don't be nasty. There's no point being nasty, because all you're doing is making yourself look horrible. You know, genuine, decent comments, yes. If you love Poshmarks, just say why you loved it, and why you did think it failed. Also, if you didn't like Poshmark, obviously tell me why you didn't like Poshmark. It might be the same thing as me. I just feel like it was just a waste of time, and it was overpriced in fees, and it was full of resellers. That is the reason why it didn't work. Anyway, I hope you did enjoy this video. If you did, obviously hit that like button, and we will be joining you back again with another video soon, and it's going to be a really good one. I've just had my biggest month ever in resales, and it is huge. I mean, massive. So I'm going to do a video about that and try and help you, if you are quite new to reselling, how to get up to the total I got up to in that month, because it was very, very big. Anyway, thank you for watching, and I'll see you again next time. Goodbye.